The state of
Yes.
California is expecting you to
Yes.
fund him not having a job.
Yes, because I have to provide the lifestyle. I have to maintain the lifestyle at my house, at his house. That's my obligation, I guess. Which is crazy to me, so crazy, you know, because I'm like, well, I want to stay more time with her too, you know.
Right.
They say technically if I want to and I don't want to work, I don't have to work. We can both just not work, and then we'll just give her that type of life, I guess, you know.
So the alternative is basically, if you don't want to have to pay for his lawyers,
Yeah.
for him to maintain the lifestyle you had when you guys were together,
Yeah.
because you make more money than him, the court expects you to provide your same lifestyle and he doesn't have to have a job. Or the alternative is, okay, you just don't work, he doesn't work, and then you guys just live with whatever's left.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gentlemen, this is Mackenzie Dern, an American Brazilian mixed martial artist. Some of you may know her. She was recently on a podcast called Stories Untold, where she went into a lot of other detail about, I'm sure, her past life. But what we're going to focus here on is how she's getting put through the ringer by family court. So yes, we're actually going to check out this full video. You can head over to Stories Untold to watch the whole thing yourself. But here's a little bit of a backstory. In 2023, Mackenzie Dern was ordered to pay $4,000 in alimony to husband Wesley Santos. That's this guy there with the big smile who I'm assuming took this photo in the actual bathroom after he got this beautiful news.
Drink the coffee, it'll make you feel better.
What does he do? He's a professional surfer and a guy who's always smiling in his photos because, guys, if your plans to be a stay-at-home dad actually panned out and you're receiving never-ending income, monthly income from your ex who you're always beefing with online and offline, you probably would smile like this guy too. And yes, he actually smiles in almost every picture I've seen him in. And so the story goes, Mackenzie gets pregnant unexpectedly, and then they tried to make the relationship work, and she married her now ex-husband. And in the podcast that we're about to listen to here in a second, she claims that he never supported her financially. He never changed his schedule to work around her when they had the baby. And she pretty much just paints him as a bum. Now, she goes on to detail about how she paid for everything, including his lifestyle, her lifestyle, his surf competitions, and when their relationship fell apart, which she hints at cheating too, by the way. She figured that they would co-parent. And he was also figuring out some new things, new passions, like being a stay-at-home dad. Now, a few of you are probably wondering, Chisha, why do you look happy about this? What's going on? We're going to get to that.
Drink the coffee, it'll make you feel better.
Basically, I go to court almost every year because, you know, he comes with this, you know, whole map of how my career will be, you know, like, oh, that she's going to win the belt here in a couple of years and then she's going to make this money. And it's just like, it's crazy to me how people can just be so, you know, money orientated about other people's money. You know,
He
what I mean?
goes in there and like projects your earnings.
Yes. Yeah, well, him and his lawyers, right? Yeah, like, okay, so she'll probably win the belt in 2 years or 1 year, and then people who win the belt, they make about this much money. So, and then I don't have anything to, like, I don't work, and then they say that they don't work, and I don't understand how I'm, like, trying to work and provide this life for my daughter and, like, being a mom and taking care of her and doing all this thing, and then I still have to pay him, and I have to pay his lawyers to fight against me. And so I'm like paying his lawyer's fees to get my money, and then I'm paying my lawyer, and then I'm paying him just to be like a dad. You know?
Tough.
You know what I mean? Just like we have 50-50. So like he has half the time, I have half the time. And I pay for like health insurance and all that extra stuff because I make the most money, but he doesn't work at all. You know, like no work. And doesn't have to work because he says that he wants to spend more time with his daughter. So he doesn't, and so he's not obligated to work, you know.
What an amazing father. Amazing father. Wow. Gave up his career to spend time with his daughter. Sounds like a soft life to me. Gentlemen, what would you do in this situation? Let's keep listening.
No, and to provide.
So you're funding him not having a job. The state of California is expecting you to fund him not having a job.
Yes, because I have to provide the lifestyle. I have to maintain the lifestyle at my house, at his house. That's my obligation, I guess.
Yes, it is.
For what they say, which is crazy to me. So crazy, you know, because I'm like, well, I want to stay more time with her too, you know.
Right.
But also too, like we can both. They say technically if I want to and I don't want to work, I don't have to work. So we can both just not work, and then we'll just give her that type of life, I guess, you know.
So the alternative is basically, if you don't want to have to pay for his lawyers, for him to maintain the lifestyle you had when you guys were together, because you make more money than him, the court expects you to provide your same lifestyle and he doesn't have to have a job. Or the alternative is, okay, you just don't work, he doesn't work, and then you guys just live with whatever's left.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That is so, I've never heard anything like that.
Yeah. And then they say they just give him like minimum.
Really? Really? You've really never heard anything like that? If you've been wondering why I take such joy in this, people, and guys, I promise I'm going to let them talk, is because of comments like that. She's like, wow, I didn't know this happened. When men have been going through this exact same experience. And this is why I smile. This is why I look at women like this and say, these are our champions. Chisha, what do you mean? These are the women who are going to, if there's any hope of these laws changing, it will happen when the women start being affected. And I mean, just seriously, just going through it. These are our champions. Thank you for your sacrifice. We appreciate you. Because there you have a host who's like, wow, I've never heard of this before. How have you never heard of anything like this before? You haven't heard of the millions of men who've gone through this exact same process. It proves my point on the fact that they won't have sympathy for the laws in family court when it comes to marriage and divorce that need to be changed, especially in states like California, until the women start to go through it. We needed you. We needed you. We need her. Thank you. We need more like her. Sacrifices must be made, and she's not going to be the last one because this is going to get more and more common. Let's keep listening. Do you know that roughly 2 million people get married in the U.S. every single year? And out of those 2 million people who get married, 600,000 wish they had this. And what is this? It's a prenuptial agreement. No, a lot of people have never actually seen a prenup in real life. Now, to put that in perspective, we're talking about a football stadium packed with married people who regret not signing a prenup. A part of me does understand why so many future husbands make the mistake of not getting a prenuptial agreement, right? A lot of people think only rich people get prenups, and the process is often very complicated and expensive. In fact, when I got my prenup, I wish I had guidance on how to choose the right attorney, how to avoid costly mistakes, and also just how to walk into a conversation, a legal conversation, feeling confident. That's why I decided to create fathershaverights.com. If you need a prenup but don't know where to start, our step-by-step guide can help. Get the questions every future husband asks answered by expert attorney James Sexton and the lead attorney before you sign your prenup. At fathershaverights.com, we've simplified the entire process for just the cost of a couple of coffee dates. No need to just take my word for it. You can check out hundreds of reviews of husbands who've prepared for their prenups the right way. Don't wait. Timing is everything when it comes to prenups. Hit the link pinned to the top of the comment section and access your prenup guide today, and you get 25% off. All right, guys, that's it. Let's get back into the video.
Wage. They say, okay, we'll say that you make at least the minimum wage, which she doesn't even make that, you know? And yeah, it's just crazy. I think just to get your kid, I'm against like trying to get, I mean, unless you really, really need it, you know, I'm against like getting the state and the government involved in how you raise your kids. You know, I think that should be something like to help protect kids from, you know, like abuse and things like that, you know. But I think if you can not have the state in the, you know, telling you like, okay, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do this. It's like, man, I feel like at least my ex, he's a surfer, you know,
right.
You can live like such a flexible life. You could be a good co-parent and just be like, you know, I think stability is important for the daughter, my daughter. But yeah, just when it gets down to it, you know, to think, I'm like, man, like I carried her 9 months in my belly, you know what I mean? Right. It's like I protected her enough to get her here to life, you know what I mean? So we separated when she was 3. You know, that's, for me, that's very young for him to say like that. He stopped his career as a surfer and that he became a stay-at-home dad. And it's like, I mean, we were kind of like a public couple, you know, so I think anyone who knew us, they knew like how much he was traveling, surfing, and I was paying for everything to help him with his surf competitions and like investing and helping him. And obviously with surfing, you can't like leave a kid on the sand, you
Right.
know, while you're
Right,
surfing.
right.
So who's taking care of her while he's surfing and practicing was me, you know.
So your career was on pause too.
My career was more on pause than he didn't put his career on pause. He didn't put his career on pause at all. When she was 3 days old, he was traveling for more than a month, almost 2 months. You know what I mean?
Wow. The roles were all the way reversed in this relationship. And I like it. We love it. You know why? Because you're helping the cause. And let me find out, bro. I have to talk to Miss Coffee real quick. I gotta know. Let me find out she initiated the divorce and is still complaining. Miss Coffee, just real quick. Did Mackenzie Dern initiate her divorce?
Yes, love. Mackenzie Dern initiated the divorce. She made it clear in the interview that she reached a breaking point. She was financially supporting everything, including his surf career, raising their daughter basically on her own, and dealing with infidelity in a one-sided relationship. Her words, "I was like, man, it's getting heavy for me. I need help. This relationship isn't..." Besides like cheating and all that other stuff he did. So she pulled the plug. Not because she wanted to destroy anything, but because she realized she was doing it all alone while he coasted. She genuinely believed they could co-parent like adults, like her own separated parents did. But he went the family court route and flipped the system on her.
So basically, she divorced him and also admitted to cheat. By the way, guys, like I really don't know much about Mackenzie Dern. You know, I respect to her and her accomplishments, right? We're having a conversation here. I really don't know much about her. I know that she is a UFC fighter. And I say this because, you know, I respect anybody who's willing to get in a cage fight. We're having a conversation here about her relationship, strictly talking about her relationship. She initiated the divorce. Didn't anybody talk to her about this? Didn't somebody say, hey, you should sign a prenup or you don't have a prenup and this is not going to work out well for you, especially in California? I mean, I'm sure she's doing worse now. And keep in mind, guys, she's not making like McGregor money or anything like that. I saw her net worth, which is usually off when you go look up celebrities' net worths online, usually lower than what they show. But they say she's got a net worth of like $1 million. So she's really going through it.
I mean, which is not a problem at the time. I'm the mom, so I'm breastfeeding. I'm a fighter, you know, so my whole career was on pause for 1 year, 9 months, and 9 plus 4, right? 4 months, 12 months. My body changed, you know, it's just like, and I'm paying all the bills. It's like, you know, taking my daughter to the gym with me and having like a bottle. So, you know, my mom can help give the bottle while he's like surfing, you know what I mean? So it's like, and then for the judge to be like, oh yeah, but you got to pay him and pay his lawyers and then it's just every year it comes back and asks for more money and asks for more money. And I'm like, you want to, and then, so the more money I make, every year he can come back and ask to raise the child support, you know, and which is even more crazier to me that he can just keep asking to raise it, you know.
That is wild. I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah.
I am infuriated for you, quite frankly, because it's almost like you're being punished for greater levels of success that you're striving for yourself, for your daughter. And then the other thing that I think about too is, you know, if it starts out as maintain a lifestyle, well, if you're maintaining that lifestyle for him, why can he continue to raise the bar and demand more money?
Yeah.
Because at that point, it's obviously, it's not for the child. It's to have extra income to use a different way. If the lifestyle is already maintained that you had when you guys were together and you're already fulfilling that, I just don't.
Exactly.
That's like over my head, beyond me.
Exactly.
You know, every state in the U.S. needs to have a cap on the amount of child support like they do in Texas based on the paying parents' net monthly income. They need that. And so this is pretty ridiculous. And we need more women, unfortunately, because when she's crying about the pain and the struggle, people feel sympathy. Unfortunately, that's the world we live in. If a man was on here complaining, they'll be like, oh, you're toxic. You know, you probably listen to Chisha Zet. What's wrong with you? What's wrong with working and getting a request to up your child support monthly based on the amount you earn? And while we do appreciate women like Mackenzie Dern for her sacrifice, I think like she's fit, man. You know, she's got the muscles there. We need a dainty woman as well. You know, that will really get the tears going for people. They'll be like, oh no, because she looks like she's tough. You know, fighter. People are like, you're used to getting punched in the face. You can handle this. We need more dainty, feminine women to just get put through it. Not because we love to see it. No, not me. Maybe someone in the comment section is going to be like, yeah, no. Because that's the way you guys will ever see that some of these laws are ridiculous. And this is some of the simps included. You know, they will look at you and be like, be a man, pay what you got to pay. And they'll look at her and be like, wow, that's not right. We need to change that. All bad.
And I think the best was like, how Mo was younger, you know, I kind of thought that, you know, at least my parents separated when I was 3.
Mhm.
I had a stepfather and stepmother, and all 4 of them would go to birthday parties. They would go to like Christmas. If they had any beef between them, they never showed it to me. So I was kind of just blown away because I had a very like good childhood with separated parents, and they never like went to court. My dad always helped out with the bills, like with braces or anything that I need,
Right.
you know, like
Amicable.
yeah, they just worked really well together, all 4 of them, you know.
Yeah, it's not like that anymore. Now it's just straight war. All out war. It's a war. It's blood. And this is when it gets bad, right? We know most people settle because most people really can't afford to go to court. Most men can't afford to fight in court. It's not out of them coming to a peaceful term. It's them being like, hey, I really can't afford this. Listen, that's it. As always, we've got some comments here before we move on. Top comment here, and I knew I didn't have to say this because I knew somebody was going to say it, reads, welcome to equality, ladies. Oof. Shout out to you, Benji. Shout out to Benji. Somebody else here responded back to him and says, came to the comments and saw my word for word thought right here. Yes, men, we are aligned. We get it. Get the popcorn out. Don't forget your coffee. Somebody else here added, love it. Somebody else here says, you beat me to it, but 100% agree. Another person here says, exactly. Another person here says, yep. Somebody else here added, and California. Man, California is brutal. It is. Here's somebody else that says, so when roles are reversed, women bitch about it? Huh? And this person says, to be fair, anyone in that position isn't going to be super excited, no matter the gender. See, John here, who's coming to the rescue, Mr. Dun-da-da-da, he's coming in being like, hey, man, nobody wants it. That's not the point. He's basically trying to say that when men talk about these things, they're seen as just complaining and so on and so forth and told to suck it up. But when women talk about these same struggles, they seem to have the same response. And we need that. Somebody else here added, tens of millions of men know the feeling. I love this comment because this is why when the host said, wow, I've never heard of this before. I'm like, how have you never heard of this? How have you never heard of this? Gentleman responded back and says, how the tables have turned. And we need them to keep turning. Here's somebody else who says, get that money, king. Yes, sir. Somebody else here added, so you're being treated like a man. Right. Somebody else here says, how are they not seeing the irony? My guy here responded back to that comment. Another dude here who says, accountability and responsibility are to women what kryptonite is to Superman. Here's somebody else added, because it's happening to them, so it's different. Here's somebody else that says, goes against girl code. Here's somebody else who added equal rights. And this guy says, crazy how I don't see ladies in the comments. Oh, they're nowhere to be seen. They're nowhere to be seen. But I'm telling you guys, there is coming a day when they will be making the videos I make now. Mark my words. You will see women say, what the hell? These rules are stupid. These family court laws are stupid. There's so much that needs to be revisited and changed. At that point, you have women reach their peak level of manliness and masculinity. And just to most men, they'll be unbearable, not for companions in the corporate world, but as wives that anybody wants to deal with over a long-term basis. That's what's coming. That is what's coming. But there are a few people out here, you know, who get it. And yes, they do exist, but they are the few. Hey guys, as always, I appreciate you for checking out yet another episode of the Coffee Pod. To my currently engaged or soon-to-be married men. If you need a prenup and would like a guide that shows you how to get a solid and legally binding prenuptial agreement, hit the link pinned to the top of the comment section and access your guide at fathershaverights.com today.